Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching Macho, directed by, produced by, and starring Clint Eastwood. Now, most people who know Clint Eastwood know he's a legend among actors and directors. Not only for his incredible westerns, which include the Fistful of Dollars trilogy, that also has the good, the bad, and the ugly in it, but also for his directorial style that has worked well for films like Gran Torino and American Sniper. And after Richard Jewell, which was released in 2019, this is the latest in his films, which is actually an adaptation of a 1975 book of the same name by N. Richard Nash. It's not the best of Clint Eastwood's films, but if you want a fairly straightforward story about a man trying to rescue a boy from Mexico so he can be reunited with his father, this is definitely the old-fashioned in a good way. Let's get to the story, shall we? The story is that Clint Eastwood plays Mike Milo, who's a former rodeo star who has to do a job for his boss after he's laid off from his job at a rodeo stadium. Basically, his boss Howard has got to get his son back after he finds out that his wife, who lives in Mexico, was essentially treating the boy very poorly. So Milo heads to Mexico and meets the boy named Raffo, who gets into cockfights, and he's obsessed with being quite macho, to the point where he even named his chicken Macho. So while the two of them initially don't get along very well, the two of them do bond with each other as they travel from Raffo's place over to the border that separates Texas from Mexico. As Mike and Raffo essentially form a grandfather-grandson type bond the entire way through. But that's all I'll say about the story. The story here actually is pretty straightforward and about as what you see is what you get as you can get from a movie. Especially considering the film's runtime is only an hour and 44 minutes long. So it's not that long of a film, and it really doesn't overstay its welcome in that respect. From what I remember from the book, some parts of the film are altered, obviously, to accommodate for Clint Eastwood's limited capacity for action, given that he's 91. But as far as his performance goes, for what he does, I think he handles it about as well as he could. He's, the stoic guy who's seen some stuff that you'd expect from a lot of Clint Eastwood performances. And considering his grandfatherly advice is also very sagely, it also works well for the kind of character he's been given. Also, the kid who plays Raffo is pretty good too. He's immature without being annoying. He tends to be impulsive, but it makes sense for a kid his age. And he does help out Milo a few times when he really needs some help. Though surprisingly, I think the chicken Macho had some of the best action scenes of the whole film, to the point where he actually ends up rescuing our characters more than once. Yeah, I almost considered calling this film The Good, the Bad, and the Poultry because of those scenes. But aside from that, I also do like the scenery of Mexico that we're given. Given that this is very neo-Western when it comes to its style and when it comes to its tone, the Mexico setting does help out a lot, and considering that the characters that we do meet along the way for Mike and Raffo's journey, it's nice to actually get to see parts of Mexico that are very two-faceted. There are some scoundrels there who will obviously do anything to get Raffo, but there's also some good people who help our characters and who see the good in practically everyone who's there. Plus, it's just fun to watch Clint Eastwood get on a horse and to wear the cowboy hat again. So it generally feels like he's having one last hurrah as part of a big cowboy movie in that respect. I will say that his limited capacity for action does make itself very apparent in the few times the film does get to violence. And there are some characters who don't ultimately work out in the end. But it's mostly pretty good for what it is. It's not going to blow your socks off, but for Clint Eastwood fans, it should be an entertaining time. And that's why I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. See you next time.